Today I'm interviewing Raziel Ungar. He's a top producing real estate agent from Burlingame, California. I met Raziel about 2 years ago when he was ready to make his third hire. He was ready for his director of operations. And we found a great candidate for him, and we've stayed in touch since that placement. And when I started thinking about who I wanted to interview to learn more about uh, teams that have very low turnover and really strong company cultures, he came top of mind. Raziel has 4 employees now, and he has virtually zero turnover. That's right, everyone he's hired is still there, which is really impressive when you consider that the average turnover rate in administrative roles in real estate is about 50% a year. Ouch, that's so high. So Raziel's doing a great job attracting the right people and keeping them on his team. And I wanted to find out what he learned as he grew his team and his approach to managing a busy, top producing real estate team. He offers some really great insight and advice in this interview about learning how to let go and delegate and how to deal with mistakes. So I think you'll enjoy listening to this one. If you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. My name is Vanessa Rosenblum. I'm the president of Pro REA Staffing. We're a real estate search and placement firm, and we place administrative hires as well as sales agents with real estate teams across the United States and Canada. So if you're looking for help growing your team, make sure to click on the link in the description below to schedule a free consultation. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you grow your team. And if you are looking for more information about growing your real estate team or growing your career in real estate, I post new content weekly on this topic. So make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell so that you're notified when we post new content. Okay, let's get into the interview. Hi, Raziel. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you. Thanks for
You too.
hopping on this call. So let's just dive right in. The first thing I want to talk about is your team. So your team structure. How many people are on the team and what roles do they play?
So I have 4 employees, and they're all fantastic. I chose to structure my team as employees as opposed to 1099s, which I think is a very common way to structure a team, but just felt like the right thing to do. Well, it is the right thing to do. And so I have a director of operations, a listings manager, a marketing specialist, and a team assistant who wears a lot of hats, and she's awesome. An outside TC.
Okay, so 4 full-time employees and then an outside TC who assists as well.
Yeah, and they're not all full time, but 3 of them are over 35 hours a week, and then the team assistant's about 15 to 20 hours a week.
Okay, got it. So give us some perspective. How many transactions do you do on average per year, or what's your sales volume, however you like to measure your business?
Sure. I kind of measure by units. So last year we did 45, and the year before that we did 42. And so last year that was a little over 100 million in volume.
Not a bad market to be in. 45 deals, 100 million in sales volume. Not
Yes.
bad, right? So usually when someone has as many support staff as you do, they start thinking about bringing on other agents. What's your thought process there? Why haven't you brought on agents, or do you anticipate doing that in the future?
I could, Vanessa. It hasn't been a real focus of mine. I know most of my awesome colleagues who do similar volume of business as I do, or many of them have a team with the buyer's agent and or a listing agent, and I think that is a very effective model and probably allows you to delegate a little bit more. It just hasn't been the model that I've been pursuing. Doesn't mean I couldn't do it down the road, because I'm constantly being inspired by a lot of other great people in our industry. But right now that seems to have worked really well. I personally really enjoy working with our buyers and sellers closely. And at 45 transactions, even though that's a relatively solid number for my area, was in the top 5, I believe, for our county last year just on units. So it's not a lot compared to most country, but around here it's pretty decent. I'm able to totally manage each negotiation, unless I'm on vacation, in which case I have another very close colleague who will step in and work with my clients on our behalf.
Perfect. So what is a day in your life like now when you have that kind of support staff? Like, what are your focuses every single day?
Yeah, so my focus is working with our existing clients, negotiating their transactions, and working on new business opportunities. So meeting with prospective buyers and sellers, and then different marketing initiatives that we're working on, and client events.
And how involved are you with every person on your team? So, for example, do you delegate to one person who then oversees your staff, or are you managing everyone?
That's a good question. I'm sure there's some opportunities for improvement on my end for sure. But right now it's a pretty flat structure. So, and it's not really hierarchical. So it's important that everyone works for me, that everyone can work closely together, and that they can lean heavily on each other and me when they need it. I don't really like the word boss too much, although sometimes I do hear it. I mean, of course it is my business, but every person on my team I really value, and they add a lot of value to my life. So I'm appreciative for them. So I hope that they feel that it's an open door to always come talk to me about if something's bothering them, or I can do something differently, or whatever it is. So that's the culture that I want.
I like that. And we'll talk more about culture in a minute, but I want to sort of paint the picture of your team first. So
Yes.
take me through your progression. At what point in your business did you decide you needed to make your first hire? And then at what point did you decide you needed a second? And people always want to know, like, am I ready? What do I do next? Is it time to hire someone else?
Right. I mean, it's really scary hiring your first assistant, Vanessa, as you well know. I think it happened after our son was born. He's now 5. And after he was born, our nanny at the time, who was Emily, our son was 9 months old, and we put him into full-time daycare. And Emily came to me and said, "Hey, it looks like you could use some help in your business." And I mean, of course, if you can trust someone with your son, you can definitely trust them with your business. And she's a fantastic person. And so I just felt really comfortable taking some baby steps there. And so she started 10 hours a week, and I kept wondering, geez, could I even find 10 hours of stuff for her to do? And of course, now it's blossomed into a much larger role. But I think that's how I think about it for anyone. If there's stuff that you don't want to do, or you think someone can do better than you, then pass that off, because your hourly rate is best spent on doing the highest value activities. And so there's some things that I excel at, and some things that I'm weaker at. And so that's why I want to have other people around me who can do things better than I can, or at a similar level of quality as what I could do. And that frees me up to do the other things that are I enjoy and bring me the best return.
Perfect. So you hired Emily, your nanny, and what is her role on the team?
So she's our listings manager. So she works closely with all of our sellers, helping them get their homes ready to go on the market, which is a pretty intimate relationship. Visiting with our clients, it's high touch, and so that's mostly what she focuses on.
And I think it's worth noting for people who are listening to this and they don't live in your area, the pre-listing process in your area is intense a lot of times, right? You guys are doing a lot of work before you put a home on the market. I mean, it's a project management role. It's, like you said, it's very high touch, and it can be very intense. So it takes a lot of time, right?
Yes,
Even for 40 something listings, or however many listings are in that balance, it's a lot. Perfect. So then at what point did you decide you needed to hire employee number 2?
Well, as her hours began to increase, we realized, hey, there's more stuff that we want to do. And I realized also, once you create a little leverage, that can help the business grow a little bit as well. And so that was starting to happen, and I had more resources available to commit to hiring a second person. And so less than 6 months later, we brought on our marketing specialist to take some of those things off Emily's plate. And then that's worked out really well too. And then we hired a third person I think it was a couple years after, a year and a half or so after that, 2 years after that, our director of operations, and she's done a really good job kind of streamlining a lot of our processes, and just having a bird's eye view on all the escrows that we have.
I think that's a really interesting point for us to talk about. So when you hired your director of operations, how did that change your role in your business?
Before I was doing a lot of escrow management. Well, I was doing all of it, and then our TC was really good, but she was just focusing on one small piece of it. And so there are a lot of little details that, like coordinating when the client should be at the title company, things like that weren't necessary for me to do, and I felt someone else could also do better than I could. And so I felt that would be a great fit for a new person. And as our business started to grow with our units and doing a little bit less than a transaction a week, I just saw an opportunity there that there could be the hours for someone in this role.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now you have 4 people, and it sounds like you haven't had any turnover. Is that right? Has anybody left your team?
We did have someone for a brief time, for a few months, where it just wasn't a perfect match. But other than that, no.
Which is really impressive. I did a survey last year, and what I found was that the average turnover rate for these types of roles in a real estate office is 50%. So 50% turnover a
Wow.
year. I know, right?
Wow.
So to have 4 people on your team and I've only had one person not work out is really impressive, which is why I wanted to talk to you. So pat on the back, because that's impressive. So, it sounds like a lot of your hires were pretty organic, especially with Emily in the beginning. And obviously I helped you with that director of operations role. What do you think about your process or the culture in your office? What do you think contributes to your ability to hold on to people and to have such low turnover?
I'd probably be best to interview them to hear what their feelings are, since I just make some assumptions. But I hope that they feel that they're in control of what they're doing, that we all have a common goal, that I'm not going to be on top of them for every little detail, but every little detail does matter to me, and I will hold my team accountable for that, and hopefully that's a mutual relationship that they feel. But I think that's the heart of it. For me, the number one thing I care the most about is attitude, and second would be trust. So it's really important that I feel everyone brings a good attitude every day, regardless of what's going on in their outside lives, because our clients can feel this, and you can feel energy from everyone all the time. And so I want our clients always to feel really good energy from the people on my team. And then I feel having an environment of trust when we're all going to make mistakes, and it's just figuring out when those mistakes happen, how we can bounce back and look at that as a learning experience. Because the best lessons I've learned in my career most of them have been the most expensive.
The ones you don't want to repeat, right?
Yes.
I love that you said that, because it seems to be a common theme among people who have really good retention is they're accepting of the fact that people are going to make mistakes. They, use it as an opportunity to learn. They don't berate their staff. They don't let it spin out of control if somebody makes a mistake. Debbie Sharp, who is in your market, she has this line. She says, "I'm looking forward to making new mistakes." And I love that, like that, just that attitude, right? About, okay, so we're going to make mistakes. Let's make new ones. We don't need to make the same ones again. We've been there, done that. And sounds like you share that philosophy. So
Definitely.
How do you think your team would describe what it's like to work in your office? What is your office culture? What's the vibe in your office?
I think we bounce between fun and serious and focused and relaxed, and we did a team offsite last week, which was really fun. Went on a food tour, and so we like to have a good time together. Everyone has families, and so it's important that try to be as flexible as I can with focusing on recognizing that they have outside interests and people in their lives who are way more important than work, and just trying to hopefully support them so that they feel productive in their role.
What's your feeling on overtime and working weekends? Like, what kind of hours do your team members work?
Yeah, generally, I mean, my hope is that everything they can get done is during business hours. Naturally, sometimes that's just difficult if you have a listing going in the market last minute. And so I try to hopefully reserve those opportunities for after hours only when it's totally necessary. And sometimes I'll do things myself just behind the scenes, so it doesn't come across the plate of my team. But it is inevitable in real estate that things pop up outside hours. And overall, they're really good about that.
Perfect. So it sounds like you're not sending them 6 a.m. texts on Sundays, and unless it was the house is on fire, right?
Pretty much. I mean, if we use Slack for internal communication, and the default is you don't get notified before, I think, 7:30 a.m. It's just so that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. How have you grown as a leader and a manager with each of these hires? I mean, you learned a skill set to become a good agent, to learn how to sell, and now all of a sudden you're responsible for these other people. There's this whole other skill set that you have to learn. What was that like
Yeah,
for you?
question. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
think being able to delegate and have confidence in your team, that's something that I've had to learn because as realtors, we can be control freaks, and kind of ceding that control to others and counting on them to deliver was, I know is the right thing to do, but that was difficult for me to do in the beginning. And still sometimes it is, but I just know that that's the right thing to do in order to grow and have some, I was just working too much before. I think that not everything's going to be perfect all the time, and striving for perfection is an unrealistic goal. So I think striving for to do the best that we can at a have very high quality. And as long as my team feels that the quality is there and I feel the quality is there, then I feel we've accomplished what's most important.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you've been really organic in your growth. So during that process, did you and your team ever work on like what are your shared values or your vision or your mission with the team? Are those conversations that you guys have had?
It's for sure something, Vanessa. We have more opportunities there. We do touch on these at our team meetings, and I think kind of our core values, a lot of them have to do with attitude and trust and accountability, and kind of trickle down from there. But it's for sure something that we could improve on. But I hope with the culture that I've set and my team has kind of come up with on its own, at the end of the day, that's really what people care about, and I think what creates a good work environment.
Yeah, definitely. So when you mentioned some of the challenges, learning how to delegate, and trusting other people, were there any other challenges that came up along the way as you learned how to, own this new role as the team leader?
Definitely. When you're a team leader, you have different personalities on your team, and you don't want everyone to be like a mini you, which is what I initially thought I wanted before I hired anyone. I wanted a mini me, and I realized would not want a mini me. I just think I'd be difficult, perhaps because I have a way of doing things, and it was important, kind of going through the disc assessments, and I wish I had done that earlier. But still, it all worked out great. And just getting a sense for the people who would be complementary to my personality, and just are really focused. Those are things that I value.
Perfect. And what advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about hiring their first assistant and they're not sure if they've got it in them to be a good manager or a leader?
I think everyone has the ability to be a leader and a good manager. And it's just a matter of being able to trust someone else to do something as well, or mostly as well as how you believe it can be done. And I think that's really important. In order to grow as a leader, you have to empower other people to do it and to make the mistakes that they're going to make. Sometimes I feel, you have to hold back and not inserting yourself into the process all of the time, because then people can perceive that you're a micromanager, and I already look at the details very closely. So, that's something I think about often. As a leader, you have to be flexible. Change is good. So.
Yeah, isn't that the hardest part? Not just trying to get in there and fix it, and just
It is
just not to
sometimes.
answer the question and say figure it out.
But I know as long as we keep talking as a team and have a good attitude and be willing to learn from other mistakes that I just try to frame as opportunities. And when my team makes mistakes and it costs me money, I'm okay with that, because I know that was a valuable lesson, and I believe they had a good learning experience as a result too.
Perfect. I think
it really does. It bugs me a lot when I don't see accountability or ownership of mistakes. That's just kind of a pet peeve of mine. But I see less and less of that now.
Right. I've always told my team, just tell me first. Don't let me find out any other way. Tell me first.
Agree.
And then it's okay.
Yep.
We'll figure it out. Just don't let me hear it from a client. Don't let me hear it from anyone else. Just tell me first.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap up. Is there anything we didn't talk about in terms of the way you grew your team or the things you've learned along the way that you think are worth sharing?
Yeah, I think for anyone out there who's a solo agent and you're really happy with how things are, but there's things that opportunities you see in your business that others can add value, then just to be open to that. Because I was, and I feel very grateful for the wonderful people who are around me in my office. And it just makes you a better professional and a better person.
Amen to that. Well, thank you so much, Raziel. It was so great to talk with you.